Hey everybody, Doc MTG here, and today is Deck Tech time. And this is a special request thanks to S Spy Gaming YT, I'm guessing that means YouTube. He asked in the comment section like 2 weeks ago if I can work on a standard, reliable, budget deck tech that's under $30, and this is what I've come up with. It is a Red-Black Pirates. This deck will only cost you about $28.60, but you most likely already have all of these cards. And, you know, I ran this deck myself at F&M and came in 4th place. So if you want something budget, reliable, aggressive, not so friendly, you're gonna run the Red-Black Pirate build. There is a whopping 25 creature spells in this deck, and we're gonna start it off with our 1-drops. First up in our 1-drop slot, we have Fanatical Firebrand. Now this one red 1/1 hasty little goblin pirate is actually nice. You want to run 4 copies of this because you want to be able to have it at any point in the game, because it having haste and enabling some of our raid triggers really does help close out the game really fast, especially because it also has the activated ability of tapping it, sacrificing it, and dealing 1 damage to target creature or player, which sometimes helps getting rid of some pesky chump blockers with 1 toughness, or just dealing some direct damage to your opponent's face. Following that, we have Daring Buccaneer, also another single red 1-drop. It's a 2/2, which is really nice, but it does have a special clause where you have to reveal a pirate or pay an additional 2 mana to play it. That's why this is a tribal build. This will come out for 1 mana every single time, and we're going to be running 3 copies of it. And lastly in our 1-drop slot is Rigging Runner. This 1/1 goblin that has first strike has raid, and it will enter the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it if you attack with another creature this turn, and that's why we have our Firebrand around. We're going to be running a total of 3 of these bad boys. Moving into the 2-drop slot, there's a specific order and specific times you want to play some of these 2-drops. So we're going to start it off with Kerry Zeb, because you're definitely going to want to play her earlier in the game as your second spell of the game, because she'll give you the extra body of having Ragavan attack in with her. She's a menace creature, she's already a pain in the butt to block, and she has first strike. And she's really good at blocking with her 3 toughness. We're going to run a total of 2 copies. Now, this next creature is kind of like a spell and a creature both at once. It is a Dire Fleet Poisoner. For 1 black, we get a 2/2 Flash Death Touch Pirate that also has the Enter the Battlefield ability of giving an attacking pirate +1/+1 and giving it Death Touch until end of turn. So this is actually pretty cool if you're like trying to like fake out your opponent by continuously attacking with your Firebrand, and then they're just getting sick and tired of it. Then you know what can happen? They can try blocking it with something that's actually valuable because they don't want to lose it, and you can actually flash in the Poisoner and have that thing die. Or if your opponent's attacking with the Torrential Gearhulk, you can actually just flash this in and kill their Gearhulk. And lastly, we have the Stormfleet Swashbuckler. For 1 red, you get a 2/2 human pirate that says it'll gain double strike as long as you have City's Blessing. This is the reason we're only running 2 copies of this card, because we want to get it late in the game. We don't want to really see it too early, because we want to play it so we can have Ascend and essentially have a double striking pirate. Moving to 3-drop territory, we have Captain Lannery Storm. For 2 and a red, this 2/2 human pirate has haste. We want to run 3 copies of her because we want to see her more often than not. Now, she kind of synergizes with some other part of our deck, which is in our non-creature spells, but when Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasure artifact token that you can sack and add any mana to your mana pool, and then she also has the text on her that says, whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Now, the treasures help us ramp. It pumps up Captain Lannery Storm, and having an artifact around, you'll see what that can also help with. Also accompanying her in our 3-drop slot is Forerunner of the Coalition. For 2 and a black, you get a 2/2 human pirate that is your pirate tutor. So whenever she enters the battlefield, you search for a pirate, reveal it, and put it on the top of your library. Now this is going to be a situational point where you want to play Captain Lannery Storm versus the Forerunner. It depends on what's going on by turn 3. But you're probably going to play this a little bit later in the game just so you can get your finishing pirate spell on the top of your library. The Coalition does have an added bonus of whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. So at that point, if she can stick around, she's cool to just have around after she's done her tutor effect, which is awesome. But if she goes away, it's not that bad. But it's better if she's around because guess what? You get to drain your opponent for 1 life every time a pirate enters the battlefield. We're going to run a total of 3 copies. And last up for our creatures is the Dire Fleet Neckbreaker. For 2, a black and a red, you get a 3/2 orc pirate that says attacking pirates you control get +2/+0. And that's the main point why you're going to run the Coalition, because this is what you're going to want to get. Because even the Firebrand at that point, once it's attacking and this is on the battlefield, is a 3/1. All your creatures become a little bit scarier. That double striking Swashbuckler is now a 4/2 that has double strike, so it's attacking him for 8. One of the more difficult parts of running a budget deck is finding decent removal that is actually cheap and easy to pick up and buy. Now, if there are any upgrades that this deck should have, it's probably like Fatal Push, but that's going to put us out of our budget range. So we have a total of 12 non-creature spells, and we're going to start it off with a Braid. For 1 red, you get an instant that says choose 1, deal 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. We're running 2 copies of a Braid because we want to be able to take care of some artifacts and then some creatures, but we still want to be able to do damage to our opponent, and that's why we're running 4 copies of Lightning Strike. For 1 red, deal 3 damage to target creature or player. So remember that thing I said about having treasure tokens and being able to synergize with another part of our deck? That comes into play with our Unlicensed Disintegration. For 1, a black and a red, you get an instant that says destroy target creature, and if you control an artifact, Unlicensed Disintegration deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. Now, this is our catch-all creature removal that will be able to destroy a creature no matter how big it is, and with the little added sweetness of dealing 3 more damage to its controller as long as we have some treasure just lying around the battlefield. We're running 3 copies. Now, if you're going up against those decks that have indestructible creatures and they're only playing 1 copy of it, that's where Vona's Hunger comes into play, because for 2 and a black, you get an instant that says each opponent sacrifices a creature, but you get the added bonus if you have Ascend. Each opponent then has to sacrifice half the creatures he or she controls, rounded up. We're only running 1 copy of this card because it's not really all that great when you're going up against another aggro build, because then they're just going to like sacrifice their smallest creature. And our last non-creature spell, it's very nice. I think it's good. It's very disruptive, and especially because you have the Fanatical Firebrand attacking all the time. You're always going to trigger raid on it. It is Heartless Pillage. For 2 and a black, you get a sorcery that says target opponent discards 2 cards. One thing we don't want our opponents to have, since we're so low to the ground and aggressive, is cards in their hands and being able to deal with anything we have. So we're running 2 copies of Heartless Pillage to make sure they're discarding cards, with the added bonus of Raid being able to create Carless treasure tokens is very nice. And lastly, our mana base. We have a total of 23 lands because we're quite low to the ground. We have 2 Dragon Skull Summits for early game fixing, 1 Scavenger Grounds for those Torrential Gearhulk decks and we need to, you know, exile the whole graveyard, 8 Swamps, and 12 Mountains. I had a lot of fun playing this deck. Now, there are some upgrades you can do, and that is, you know, maybe putting like Dinosaur Hunter and change of something else if you have a dinosaur heavy meta. Field of Ruin is also nice, Dire Fleet Daredevil, and like Vraska's Contempt, even Fatal Push like I was saying earlier. Now, if you guys are wondering about a sideboard, Generally, what I like to do with the budget deck text is not include a sideboard, because sideboarding is so meta dependent, depending on what your meta is very transformative for you to do. To just pick the cards that are going to work best. Maybe it's more braids in your sideboard, or maybe you own Fatal Pushes. But with that being said, don't forget to be subscribed. And as always, guys, this is Doc MTG saying peace.